Hello, and welcome to Group 5's technology presentation focused on Square, credit card processing technology. This presentation will focus on Square as it relates to the food truck industry. The members of Group 5 consist of Jacqueline Duvendak, Nivid Thakkar, Ryan Hayden, and Uriah Kilgallen. To start off with a background and a description, Square was founded in 2009 by Jack Dorsey with the mission of simplifying and making credit card processing accepted everywhere. From small businesses to large global companies, Square has grown from offering application software compatible with iOS and Android devices to hardware that supports offline debit and credit transactions. Square Inc. became a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange in November of 2015 and has since grown in popularity for both small business owners and consumers as credit debit card usage continues to significantly take over in point of purchase sales transactions. Furthermore, there are many uses of Square that can benefit small businesses related to transactional efficiencies. Square offers hardware and software. Hardware such as the Square Stand, the MagStripe, contactless, and chip reader pair seamlessly with iPads or Android devices. Additionally, Square offers software services. You can buy each on an as-needed basis, or you can buy the complete suite to manage your business. Some of these services include Square Register, Square Cash, Square Capital, Caviar, Customer Engagement, and Square Payroll. For purposes of this presentation, we will take a deeper dive into the food truck industry as it relates to Square. The next section will focus on enablers and inhibitors as it relates to Square and the food truck industry.
We'll now discuss what enablers Square has in order to help food trucks within this industry be able to take mobile payments, advantages it has over its competitors, and specifically advantages that it has over not using it at all. The first is its simplicity. Implementing Square only has about 5 steps from start to finish. The first step is to buy the reader. The second step is to download the app, which does take a little bit of registration. The third is to plug it into your phone using that portable jack. The fourth is to test it out, and the fifth is to use it as your cash register. Now, the fifth is to use it. The fourth is to be sure that it works. So really, there are only about 3 steps, which one is to acquire it, which does happen through the registration, and the other is to plug it into your phone. It also uses existing phone technology that a lot of people already have and that a lot of people are familiar with. Most people have a smartphone. I've got one sitting next to me right now as I record this. And most people are familiar with how to operate smartphones. So you can have many people that can come in and out of the food truck that can operate as your cash register. There's also the free card reader upon registration. So there's no contract, and the hardware can be really expensive in this industry. So anything to reduce the costs and help the slim margins is certainly useful. Additional enablers for Square include that society is really moving away from cash. This is a much more major deal because 20 years ago, everybody carried cash with them in order to make the purchases that they needed. Now, so few people do. 78% of Americans carry less than $50 with them, and only 9% of Americans prefer to pay with cash. Our society is moving away from cash, so to be able to accept the majority of your customers' payments, especially for larger orders, you need to have cash. People also statistically will spend more using their credit card. For most food trucks, about 40% of their transactions occur while using cash, but 14% of their total volume of sales is cash. So if you're spending cash or you have a consumer that's spending cash, they're going to look at the money that's in their pocket and make their decision based off of how much or how little money they have. A credit card represents unlimited funds, so this is a major enabler. We also need to discuss some of the inhibitors that Square faces when trying to compete in this very competitive mobile payment industry. The market in general has less of acceptance of new technologies. Now, this applies to Square as well as other mobile payment options, but their market's a little bit more narrow. You're not going to open up a retail store or a restaurant that is stationary without the ability to accept credit cards, but a food truck, it's reasonable to. There's also cheaper alternatives. We've listed RoamPay at 1.75% per swipe. Square is at 2.75% per swipe. And there are other options that have a monthly payment where you don't pay per swipe, or you pay less per swipe, and then you have your break-even point of $15 per month that you need to meet. You also need to be concerned about security. Information protection, people are becoming very leery of it. I'm pretty nervous about using my credit card on somebody's personal smartphone because I don't know if there's an app that they can use or create that's going to store my credit card information on it. So other people tend to be cautious about this as well. Square also suffers from having poor customer service. A lot of tech-averse customers, like those that do own food trucks that would be using Square, are going to be pretty nervous about using a technology because it's a little bit harder for them to adapt to. Poor customer service really puts that over the top. So there's the risk, since they don't have contracts, of customers leaving shortly after signing up for Square. Other problems for Square, and this is probably one of the more major ones, is the competition is improving and Square has been pretty complacent. Square was ahead of the game in getting started with what they're doing and with being a mobile option for payments. And because of that, they got a little bit complacent. You tend to look at companies like Apple or companies like PayPal, where their customer service is starting to take a dip. Now, PayPal's had been taking a dip for a while. And the Better Business Bureau also has a pretty low rating for Square at the moment. Now, if you go to the website, it does show that they have an A+, but if you actually read the reviews, they've got thousands of just negative experiences with Square. So this is something else we must be considerate of.
This section will focus on a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats as it relates to Square and the food truck industry.
Comparing strengths and weaknesses will help us better understand what opportunities and threats Square technology has in the food truck industry. A SWOT analysis can help Square further capitalize on the $1.2 billion food truck industry in the U.S. The food truck industry has seen consecutive growth in the past 7 years, of which $50 million has been accounted for through the Square point-of-sale system. Here's an overview of various strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that Square faces in this particular industry. We'll look more closely at each of these points to better understand where Square stands today and what areas they need to focus on to foster additional growth and avoid risks which could hinder their business in the food truck industry. Square allows food trucks to accept non-cash payments without being tied to a traditional sales register. By 2017, it's anticipated that only 23% of transactions will be conducted by cash. Therefore, we anticipate an increase in demand for credit card and mobile payment options. Square offers competitive pricing plans which are in line with traditional electronic payment transactions: 2.75% for standard credit card swipes, or 3.15% plus 15 cents for each manual keyed-in transaction. They also provide a free basic card reader, and their upgraded readers and stands are available at a minimal cost. Square is an iconic brand known for its minimalist design and ease of use, which can be attractive to new users. There have been ongoing concerns regarding Square freezing user accounts. Square's loss prevention team claims that this is done on accounts that exceed $2,002 in sales over a 7-day period for manually keyed-in transactions to avoid fraudulent activity. In some cases, customer accounts or assets can be locked for up to 3 weeks. This can be detrimental for the food truck business for making purchases or accepting payments. The majority of Square's revenue is diverted to the credit card companies. Though they charge 2.75% on most transactions, they only receive a fraction of this fee as income. This is concerning as they have significant overhead. Users report that Square is convenient for businesses that are starting up. However, it is not recommended for businesses that expand into multiple food trucks or have larger sales volume. Square can make better use of its marketing and advertisement service by integrating social media with its sales app. This will allow food trucks to market their service specifically from locations and rapidly inform customers of news or specials. Square can combine sales information such as GPS location, time of day, and volume with their existing business analytics software to provide users with more relevant data, which can be useful for planning future routes or menu offerings. Square can reintroduce the option of a flat monthly fee instead of charging a percentage of each sale. This could help win over customers who subscribe with other competitors. Square should market their auxiliary services more effectively. They offer services such as business loans through Square Capital, payroll processing, and advertising. These have the potential to be lucrative areas in this field, especially since payment processing services currently make up over 95% of Square's current income. Several point-of-sale competitors currently exist specifically to accommodate the food truck industry, such as ShopKeep, Revel, and Touch Bistro. Some of their competitive advantages include a more customized and detailed accounting of inventory. Customers may simply be wary of swiping or tapping their credit cards directly into a stranger's iPad or cell phone, especially in light of several recent cases of hacked databases involving compromised credit card data. In 2011, Verifone, a competitor of Square, reported that Square's magnetic card readers did not encrypt card data, which makes it vulnerable to hackers. Square ultimately issued new card readers to address this problem.
In this final section, we will focus on future evolution as it relates to Square and the food truck industry.
The future evolution of the company Square looks very optimistic as technology continues to advance. Square Capital would be one product that could improve Square's business by creating more money flow through its customers. An unresolved issue, and probably an issue that will never go away with the advancement of technology, is the threat of security. Data breaches are becoming a more common occurrence and support the need for more computer security. On another note, Square could improve some of their products, including their mobile point-of-sale system. The system could be improved to accept mobile orders and become more efficient in organizing current orders.
This section will focus on companies that are currently leveraging Square as it relates to the food truck industry.
The first real-world option that we're going to be discussing is the Meaty Balls Mobile. The Meaty Balls Mobile is located in Chicago, Illinois, and their testimonial when it comes to Square, their owner, had said that the ubiquitous nature of the smartphone means that we don't have to train new drivers on how to use the app because it's easy to learn. Now, this is something that we had discussed earlier in one of its major inhibitors. People understand smartphones. Kids at a young age understand and play games on smartphones. It's very handy to owners, specifically for the Meaty Balls Mobile, in how to get your employees trained on it. They also note that it does reduce the cash counting. At the end of the day, a lot of times people aren't accountants, people aren't MBA students, and they don't know how to balance the checkbook or the balance sheet as well as somebody else might, especially after a long, stressful day in a small, hot truck. They also don't have to continue to go to the bank back and forth. Now, this is a major, major bonus because trying to leave your area or send somebody out from where you are set up in order to generate revenue so that you can just get change to pay your consumers back really helps. Now, a small note that I added in here is that it reduces the dollar pricing as well. When I go to a food truck near my workplace, they've got everything priced to 50 cents and to $1. While that doesn't seem like much, again, the tighter margins, it may be a deal that it may make it a little bit closer to either you're not making as much or a little bit too expensive where somebody else might go to a Jimmy John's down the street. It also adds to a perceived value. The Meaty Balls Mobile specifically noted that they're known now as a gourmet food truck. So they're able to go out there, accept the payments using the Square, and once they use Square to accept it, customers look at them as being ahead of the curve because not all food trucks offer it. Matter of fact, the food trucks in my area, none of them do.
The future of Meaty Balls Mobile is unclear. The food truck closed indefinitely in 2014, however has continued to have random pop-ups since then. The company last promoted using online ordering via Uber Eats. Although they weren't using Square at the time, the company's products could be beneficial to Meaty Balls Mobile to report data on customers and determine when the most successful times would be to have another random pop-up. As Square evolves, it will have little impact on Meaty Balls Mobile because they aren't open consistently.
Next, we will discuss the Hot Indian Foods food truck as our second real-world example. Amal Dixit, the owner of Hot Indians Foods food truck, said the reason I ended up choosing Square over other options is the cash around Square, the form and the function of it. When people come to the truck and they see Square, there's a little bit of an in factor. Now we also saw this with the first real world example in the Meaty Balls Mobile, that you want to be able to have that perceived notion of value, that we are a premium food truck, that we offer all options possible in order to accept payment. He also utilizes it so that you can see that more sales trends. Now this is something that was particularly important to Amal. He wanted to be able to predict what customers were buying, where the market was going, and adapt. He said that diversification is the main thing that they do at Hot Indian Foods. They tend to make burritos and they fill it with Indian food, depending on what the current consumer is going towards. That tends to be what he makes. They also like Square because of the reliability. As mentioned before, the innovation of the different types of food, Square does provide a lot of data so that they can see what are people buying. The reporting and the setup are intuitive. Amal especially noted that. It doesn't take a lot of effort to figure it out, and that's something we see as a common theme throughout Square. Food trucks are also, by their nature, very adaptable, and Square is as well. A food truck can park in a square one day and then go park in another square the next day. You have to be able to have options that allow you to mold yourself to your market. Square provides that for Amal and for many other companies.
Hot Indian Foods has been using Square for a while and found the reporting system was very beneficial. The food truck could benefit even more by an improved mobile point-of-sale system that would allow them to accept pre-orders from customers and assist the food truck in managing their current orders. As Square continues to evolve, the Hot Indian Foods food truck will see a great benefit. They depend on the company greatly and seem to be open to trying Square's new products as they are released.
We have now reached the end of the presentation. We hope that you found the information discussed on Square to be valuable. There is an extreme amount of opportunity for Square to see growth, as many small business owners have not yet begun to use this technology. We thank you for your time. Goodbye.